41 minutes. That is the window the confirmed evidence has given investigators. The span between 1:47 in the morning, when the doorbell camera was removed from its mount, and 2:28, when the pacemaker running in Nancy Guthrie's chest stopped transmitting its nightly signal. 41 minutes. Not a forced entry and a panicked exit. Not a crime of opportunity improvised in the dark. 41 minutes of deliberate movement through a house this person already knew, navigating it, propping its exits, moving through it with a woman present, before walking out and disappearing down a road that a retired NYPD detective described publicly as one you have to plan in advance to find. What you are about to hear is not a theory. It is not assembled from online speculation or unnamed sources or the kind of analysis that arrives without a credential attached to it. Every claim in this reconstruction comes from named law enforcement officials, named federal investigators, named forensic experts, and the documented record this investigation has produced. If a fact is confirmed, it is stated as confirmed. If it is not, it is flagged. That distinction is the only standard this channel operates under. Here is what the confirmed record has built. This crime required 3 things simultaneously: specific knowledge of the house layout, specific knowledge of Nancy Guthrie's schedule, and specific knowledge of the neighborhood geography and exit routes. Not 1, not 2, all 3 confirmed. And the convergence of 3 simultaneous specific requirements, each one demanding time and sustained proximity to assemble, is not the profile of a random act. It is the blueprint of something constructed. And the person who constructed it left something behind: biological material, a partial DNA profile, a sample now running through a forensic genealogy database, the same methodology that identified the Golden State Killer after decades of conventional investigation produced nothing, capable of reaching a name through bloodlines even if that person has never once appeared in a criminal record. The architecture that made this crime possible is the same architecture now being used to dismantle it. By the end of this reconstruction, you will understand exactly what this crime required and why the confirmed evidence make the word random impossible to apply to any part of it. This is American Case File, reconstructing the last known hours before everything changed. If this reconstruction is reaching you for the first time, subscribe and turn on notifications. This case is not slowing down, and neither is this channel. Across 17 episodes, this channel has documented the Nancy Guthrie investigation from the night she disappeared. What begins now is different, not a report on what has happened, but a reconstruction of how this crime was built. One question has been running underneath every confirmed fact this channel has covered since February 1. Not who took her. What kind of access made it possible? That question has a confirmed answer now, and the answer is more architecturally specific and more disturbing than anything previously assembled. Nancy Ellen Long was born on January 27, 1942, in Fort Wright, Kentucky. She turned 84 years old 4 days before someone walked into her home and removed her from it. She had been in Tucson for more than 5 decades. She moved there with her family in the early 1970s, and she did not leave. She watched the city grow and change around her from a home in the Catalina foothills, the kind of home that accumulates a life in its corners, in the wear on the floors, in the way the kitchen knows where everything belongs without being reminded. She had a church community. She had 3 children, Cameron, Annie, and Savannah, living close enough to have dinner with on a Saturday night without it needing to be an occasion. Her husband, Charles Guthrie, died in 1988. He was 49, a mining exploration trip in Mexico. She was 46. She built the years after that the way a person builds years when the alternative is not to, one Sunday at a time, one family dinner at a time, one evening home at a time, with the garage door closing behind her and the house settling into a quiet that belonged to her. She lived alone. She was mentally sharp. Sheriff Chris Nanos confirmed that specifically and publicly, ruling out anything voluntary about her disappearance. But her body carried its limitations. She could not walk 50 yards by herself. Her daily heart medication was non-negotiable. Officials described the consequences of missing it as dire. Her world was mapped carefully around those realities: the home she knew by feel in the dark, the church pew that knew her shape, a monitor on a nightstand waiting every night for a signal it always received. That was what ordinary looked like in Nancy Guthrie's world. A kitchen she had stood in for decades, a church pew that knew her shape, a monitor on a nightstand waiting every night for a signal it always received. File that. Everything that comes next is built against it. January 31st, 2026, Saturday. At 5:32 in the evening, Nancy Guthrie called an Uber. She traveled to her daughter Annie's home for dinner. This was not an unusual evening. It was the kind of evening that happens inside a family with enough history that it stops needing a reason. At 9:48 in the evening, her son-in-law, Tommaso Cioni, Annie's husband, an Italian national in his early 50s, a man who had been inside Nancy's home, drove her back to her residence in the Catalina foothills. He watched the garage door close before he drove away. That is the last confirmed image of Nancy Guthrie inside her own life. What happened next was not spontaneous. It was activated. At 1:47 in the morning, 3 hours and 59 minutes after the garage door closed, the doorbell camera disconnected. Not lost signal, not went dark from a power issue. Disconnected in the specific way a device disconnects when a human hand removes it from its mount. The FBI and Google later recovered footage from that camera, even though the physical device was never found at the scene, and even though she had no cloud subscription. Whoever removed that camera may have believed there was nothing left to recover. They were wrong, but the knowledge that guided their hand to that exact mount, the knowledge of where it was, how it was installed, what removing it would and would not prevent, that knowledge was not assembled standing in her driveway at 1:47 in the morning. It was assembled before. At 2:12 in the morning, the doorbell software detected a person on the camera. No video available. The motion existed, the record of the motion existed, the image did not. At 2:28 in the morning, 41 minutes after the camera went dark, the bedside monitor missed its scheduled transmission from the pacemaker in Nancy Guthrie's chest. No signal, no data. The device that had been recording every physiological second of what was happening to her inside that house went quiet, not because it failed, because she was no longer inside that home. 8 minutes later, at 3:36 in the morning, a vehicle was captured on a Ring camera on Camino Real, moving south, 2.5 miles from her front door. 8 minutes. That is the window. That is the window this entire reconstruction is built around. Stop. Because the confirmed evidence, placed in sequence, assembled in full, shows something that has not been properly reconstructed. This crime required 3 things simultaneously, not 1, not 2, 3, and all 3 are in the confirmed record. Requirement 1, knowledge of the house. The doorbell camera was not covered, not sprayed, not pointed away from. It was removed. taken from its mount by a person who knew it was there, knew its exact location, knew how it was installed, and had decided before arriving what needed to happen to it. The back doors of Nancy's home were found propped open, confirmed by Savannah Guthrie. Someone moved through that residence in the dark with a woman present and propped exits behind them, not searching for a way out, moving, the way a person moves through a space they have already mapped from the inside. The FBI and Google recovered footage from a device that was physically gone, from a home with no cloud subscription. Whoever removed that camera did not account for what forensic infrastructure can recover without the hardware. That is a gap in what they knew. But the knowledge they did have, the camera's exact placement, the layout of the property, which doors existed and where they led, that knowledge was not built at a glance. It was built over time. Requirement 2, knowledge of the schedule. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos confirmed it publicly, directly, without equivocation. She was targeted before she was taken. That word targeted carries a specific forensic weight that the news cycle has not properly examined. Targeting is not opportunism. Targeting is reconnaissance. Targeting is the patient assembly of specific knowledge about a specific person. When she leaves, when she returns, when she is alone, when the house goes quiet. She could not walk 50 yards. Her medication schedule was fixed and non-negotiable. She was 84. She lived alone. Her vulnerability was precise, and selecting her as the subject of this crime required knowing that precision in advance. The Uber at 5:32, the dinner at Annie's, the return at 9:48, the garage door closing. Someone knew the shape of that Saturday evening before it happened. Requirement 3, knowledge of the geography. Retired NYPD detective and security consultant Pat Brosnan reviewed the Camino Real footage for Fox News Digital and said it plainly. It's not just a road that you stumble upon. You have to be very planned to go in there. A neighbor confirmed what Brosnan observed independently. The road behind Camino Real, Camino Escuela, carries no police presence and no traffic. It is the kind of road a person who knows an area uses deliberately, not the kind a stranger finds in the dark at 2:36 in the morning while transporting an 84-year-old woman. And then there's this, confirmed by a neighbor named Aldine Meister. In mid-January, weeks before Nancy Guthrie came home that Saturday night, she noticed a man walking the neighborhood. He seemed out of place, hat pulled low over his eyes, moving through a residential street with the specific quality of someone trying to appear unremarkable while doing something that was. Mid-January, weeks before February 1st. This architecture was not assembled on the night it was used. It was built before, observation by observation, walkthrough by walkthrough. Now place all 3 requirements together. Specific knowledge of the house, detailed enough to locate and remove a camera and navigate an unfamiliar interior in the dark with purpose. Specific knowledge of the schedule, precise enough to know when she would return, when she would be alone, when the house would go quiet on a Saturday evening. Specific knowledge of the neighborhood, specific enough to identify and use a low-traffic exit road that requires advanced planning to find. Any one of these independently is unremarkable. 2 together is a question. All 3 confirmed simultaneously is a definition, not of a person, of a proximity, of the kind of access that does not arrive from the outside. Jim Clemente spent more than 15 years inside the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit, the division that does not investigate crimes after they happen, but reconstructs the behavioral architecture of the person who constructed them. His methodology is not intuition, it is a discipline grounded in one specific practice, reading what the documented evidence of a crime reveals about the type of person who constructed it. He has applied that methodology across hundreds of cases. He has applied it to this one, publicly, on the record. What he identified in the Nancy Guthrie evidence does not add a new detail to the confirmed record. It reframes the 41 minutes completely. Clemente publicly questioned whether this crime was financially motivated at all. His reasoning was behavioral and specific. The amount of time spent inside that home is inconsistent with an operation designed for speed. If the goal was to enter, secure a target, and exit, 41 minutes is not that operation. 41 minutes is something unfolding differently than planned, something that did not go according to whatever architecture was in place when the camera went dark at 1:47 in the morning. The behavior inside that house, the time spent, the exits propped, the deliberate movement, points to an original plan that was not a smash and grab. Something changed inside those walls between 1:47 and 2:28, and that change is what produced the timeline investigators are now working to reconstruct. Former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe reviewed the surveillance footage and added the second behavioral layer on record. No person with law enforcement or military training would carry a firearm in the holster position visible in the footage. The weapon is placed at the groin, not a tactical position, not a trained carry. The person in that footage is not a professional whose primary identity is force. The weapon was brought because the operation required the appearance of it, not because violence was the design. A non-professional, weapon carried as a prop, 41 minutes inside a house that a speed-driven operation would have cleared in a fraction of that time. Something changed in those 41 minutes. The pacemaker was recording every physiological second of what that change produced inside Nancy Guthrie. At 2:28, it stopped transmitting, not because the device failed, because she was moved. Here is what the confirmed evidence reveals about the type of person this crime required. Not who, what kind. The crime required someone who could exist inside Nancy Guthrie's proximity, close enough to her home, her schedule, her daily world, without triggering the alert that a stranger's proximity would produce. That is not a secondary requirement. That is the foundational architectural requirement of the entire crime. Everything else, the camera knowledge, the schedule knowledge, the exit route, could only have been assembled from inside that proximity. An 84-year-old woman living alone in the Catalina foothills does not extend access to strangers. She was mentally sharp. The sheriff confirmed that directly. She was experienced. She was the kind of person whose read of the people around her was built across 8 decades of reading them. She would have felt wrongness before she could name it. So the person who built this crime had to present on the surface as something that did not feel wrong. Not necessarily as a close friend, not necessarily as family, but as someone whose knowledge of her house, her camera, her back doors, her Saturday evening routine could accumulate without that accumulation appearing as what it was. 3 questions of the confirmed evidence. What did this person appear to be in Nancy Guthrie's world? Someone whose presence was unremarkable, whose access was normalized by a relationship that made it natural, whose knowledge of the property had an explanation attached to it that did not require examination. What made them trusted enough to build that access? A relationship close enough that proximity did not generate suspicion. The kind of relationship where being inside someone's home, knowing their schedule, understanding their routine, none of that raises a question because the relationship itself provides the answer. What specific quality made knowledge of the house, the schedule, and the neighborhood geography possible to assemble? Time. sustained access, repeated presence, the kind that accumulates over months, not days, because the relationship that enabled it appeared to be something other than what it was being used for. Tommaso Cioni is not named by law enforcement as a suspect. He was polygraphed. He provided DNA voluntarily. He cooperated with investigators. He is officially cleared. He is also the last person confirmed to have watched that garage door close. He had been inside that house. He knew the family's schedule. Former FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer, named, credentialed, on record, publicly raised questions about his employment status at Basis Oro Valley. Those questions have received no official response. The confirmed record does not name him. The confirmed record does place him inside the architecture of what this crime required. The audience holds both of those things. The audience judges.
Pull the camera back, because this crime is not happening in a vacuum. Two systems are running simultaneously around this investigation, moving in opposite directions, and understanding both is understanding exactly where the architecture of this case stands right now. The first system is the DNA. Blood recovered from Nancy Guthrie's front porch confirmed as hers. Alongside that, a mixed DNA sample, material from more than one person, recovered from the scene. That sample traveled from Pima County to a private laboratory in Florida, from Florida to the FBI's crime laboratory in Quantico, Virginia, and partial profiles recovered from that scene have been uploaded with court approval to a forensic genealogy database. What that means specifically, this is not a routine DNA comparison against existing criminal records. Forensic genealogy does not require the suspect to have a prior arrest. It does not require their DNA to exist anywhere in CODIS. It requires one thing: that someone in their biological family, a cousin, a second cousin, a relative they may have never met, has submitted a genetic sample to a consumer database like 23andMe or Ancestry. From that relative, investigators build a family tree backward, branch by branch, until the partial profile from Nancy Guthrie's home finds the name it matches. Retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent Jason Pack confirmed what that process looks like in practice, separating multiple DNA profiles from a single mixed sample, constructing family trees, running elimination comparisons, confirming matches against the recovered partial profile. This is not a television timeline. It is months of precise laboratory work, and the labs have not told investigators there is nothing more they can do. That means the process is active. That means the biological signature this person left inside that house is speaking in a building in Quantico every day this reconstruction continues. The second system is the institution surrounding the investigation. Sheriff Chris Nanos confirmed publicly that he knows the motive behind this crime and has chosen not to disclose it. That is not an inference. That is a confirmed statement from the named official leading this investigation. He knows he is not sane. He has also confirmed he would have handled some things differently, specifically releasing the crime scene before federal investigators completed their work. Former Surgeon General Richard Carmona and others have stated on record, compromised crime scene. The homeowners on Nancy Guthrie's street, Elias and Danielle Stradiglius, told Fox News Digital that investigators had not canvassed their neighborhood 25 days into the investigation, and Nanos' own attorney confirmed he resigned from the El Paso Police Department in 1982 to avoid a suspension. The DNA is moving toward an answer. The institution surrounding it has confirmed vulnerabilities running alongside that movement. Both are simultaneously true. Think about what a family tree actually is. Not the sentimental version, the forensic one. Every person alive exists inside a biological network they did not choose and cannot exit. Parents, siblings, cousins, second cousins twice removed,
relatives they have never met and never will. That network extends outward in every direction across generations, and every member of that network carries portions of the same DNA, not identical, but connected, related, traceable. When forensic genealogy investigators upload a partial profile to a consumer database, they are not searching for the suspect directly. They are searching for any biological relative anywhere in that network who has voluntarily submitted their own DNA to a platform like 23andMe or Ancestry. And when they find that relative, they do not need the suspect to be in any database at all. They build the family tree from the relative outward, branch by branch, until the tree reaches the person whose presence in that house left a signature they did not know they were leaving. The architecture of the crime is being dismantled by an architecture it never anticipated. The question has been threading through every section of this reconstruction since the first image. A woman with a pacemaker running in her chest, a home she had known for decades, a schedule fixed enough to be mapped from the outside, a life ordinary enough that access to it did not look like what it was being used for. It arrives now, not as a theory, not as an accusation, not as speculation toward any name, as the single most precise question the confirmed evidence has constructed. How much of someone's ordinary life does a person have to know before that knowledge becomes the architecture of a crime? The house layout, the schedule, the exit roads, the camera placement, the back doors. Each piece of that knowledge was built before it was used. Each piece required proximity to build. Proximity requires access. Access requires a relationship. The pacemaker that ran every night in Nancy Guthrie's chest is still the most precise forensic record of what happened in those 41 minutes. It went with her.
Stop. Everything stops here. Nancy Guthrie turned 84 years old on January 27, 2026. 4 days later, she went to her daughter's house for dinner. She came home. The garage door closed. She had a bedside monitor on her nightstand that waited every night for a signal from the device in her chest. She had a kitchen she had stood in since before most of the people now searching for her had learned to walk. She had a church pew. She had 3 children. She had a life that was ordinary and full and entirely, completely hers. Somewhere between 2:28 in the morning and the moment her family walked through her front door at 11:56 a.m., all of it became a file. She was not a case before that. She is not a case now. She is a person who went to dinner on a Saturday and came home and the garage door closed. The gap where she should be is not an investigation. It is a person. It has always been a person. If you have confirmed information about this case, contact the Pima County Sheriff's Department tip line directly. The Guthrie family has offered a $1 million reward. Crime Stoppers has an additional $100,000 on the table. The lines are open. The investigation is active. The forensic genealogy database is running. The partial profiles are live. The family trees are being built in a laboratory that has not yet said there is nothing more it can do. The architecture this person built inside Nancy Guthrie's home left a signature they did not know they were leaving. That signature is being reconstructed, the same way everything on this channel gets reconstructed, from what was left behind. Subscribe, turn on notifications. The next reconstruction is already being built, and it goes deeper than this one. The Architect, out.